Hi, welcome to the Ambient iPad. No music making in this video. Instead, I want to talk about the reasons why I switched from a 2021 iPad Pro 12.9-inch version to the 11-inch. There's 4 reasons for that. The first is portability. The second is because I wear glasses, and I'll get into that. The third is what I'm calling immersiveness or situational awareness. And the fourth is price. But before I get into all that, just a couple of points. At the time of making this video, the iPad Pro 2021 editions have been out for a little more than a year. So there are lots of review and lots of comparison videos out there. This will not be a review of the iPad. Instead, besides the 4 points that I want to talk about as the reasons why I've switched, I will also do a comparison between the two screens. All right. So again, I have 4 reasons why I've switched. The first is portability. That's something a lot of people talk about. It is much easier to carry around and use the 11-inch than the 12.9-inch, at least for me. When you're just in your house, it's not as much of an issue, but once you start getting outside and just traveling around with it, I just find the portability makes a difference. I'm going to throw in another thing within this reason too, which is something that people bring up, that if you're replacing your laptop or your desktop with an iPad, then you want to get the larger one just for multitasking, if nothing else. And but if you already use a laptop or use a desktop and this is an additive device for media consumption, videos or the web, whatever it might be, then the 11-inch is great. That doesn't mean anything to me. I've used every single iPad almost since the first one. I'm used to using all different sizes from the mini up to the 12.9-inch, and at least for me, between the 12.9-inch and the 11-inch, multitasking on either one is the same. Some people talk about the interfaces of the apps or the web being more of a mobile interface. I've never really noticed that, and that's not really bothered me. At the end of the day, you have to try out both to know which one will work for you. And at least for me, the 11-inch is fine from a multitasking perspective. All right, the next 2 reasons are a little more esoteric, and they're important to me, but may not be important to anyone else. So I wear glasses, but I wear progressive lenses, so it transitions from seeing in the distance, seeing the middle distance, and seeing close. What that means, though, is that when objects are closer to me, I can only focus on one specific area. It's not a problem. You get used to it. But everything else is there, and I can see it, but it's just a little bit out of focus. Given that in many cases the size of what you're seeing can be very similar between the 2 sizes of the iPads, and you can change that in the accessibility settings as well, I'm not really noticing a lot of difference between using the 2. When I had just the 12.9, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go back to the 11-inch. But when I'm with the 11-inch, I'm never like, oh, I wish it was a little bigger. No, I take that back. 12 inches would be the perfect size. Just make one iPad, or make like a 14-inch and a 12-inch. So this would be nice being a little bigger, but the difference has never been enough for me to sacrifice the portability. And again, because I wear progressive lens glasses, that's just my viewpoint. The next one is similar. It's just something that matters to me. And that is when I'm using the larger iPad, I feel like I get sucked in. It's more immersive. I usually use the iPad mainly for work. I also use it for my content creation and music making as well. Thus the channel here. But when I'm using the larger one, I kind of feel like I'm getting sucked in. And at least to me, situational awareness is important, particularly when I'm out in public. And I do find that it's a challenge to maintain that sometimes with the larger iPad. Probably a good problem to have for some folks, but for me, to be honest, I'm immersed in a world already, the world around me. I don't feel the need to get immersed in yet a second world. I have enough problems with the first one. So again, a little bit of a niche issue. And then the last reason was price. And again, at the time of making this video, the iPad Pro, the 2021 editions, have been out for a little more than a year. So prices are starting to come down. I'm seeing sales. And to be honest, I really didn't have any intention right now of going to the 11-inch. I was going to wait to see what the next versions of the iPads, which are supposed to come out either toward the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. If they put the same screen technology into the 11-inch, and it's not clear whether they will or not, I'll definitely make the switch there. But with the larger iPad, I was like, I'd like a smaller iPad just to not worry about bringing it around or, checking email, surfing the web. And so I started looking at another iPad mini. I have an older one. And finally I was like, just go to the 11. Why have two devices when you can have one? And I did try them out next to each other, and I determined that yes, the 11 works fine for me. So I sold the 12.9 inch, and essentially I was able to use that money to get the 11 inch. Now, the other thing, and I'll move now into the screen comparison, is that that's the only difference between these two, is the size of the screen and the screen technology. The chips, the insides, what the iPads can do, the port, they're both the same between the same two sizes. They both use the new M1 chip. It does make a difference. Before this, I had a 2018 iPad Pro, and working with 4K video files and some complex audio files, the iPad would just hang up. I would move something and it would take a few seconds for the screen to catch up with it. I've had no issues like that with the 2021 edition. So to me, the chip is really the thing that's making the difference here. Also, the port, it's now USB-C port, was before. However, it's now a Thunderbolt port as well, which helps with using an external drive. I use the 1 terabyte version, so I get 16 gigs of RAM. If you get a version that's less than a terabyte, you get 8 gigs of RAM. Not sure how much of a difference that makes. I know that apps can't really take advantage of the full 16 gigs at this point. Hopefully that will change in the future. But from a performance perspective, I'm not noticing any differences. All right, let's do a comparison of the screens now. So you can see I have the 11 inch on the left, the 12.9 on the right. In both cases, screen brightness is all the way up and True Tone is on. True Tone is Apple's software on its mobile devices, which senses the ambient brightness around you and adjusts the temperature of the screen accordingly. So the darker your surroundings, the more warmer or yellowish the screen will be. Helpful for your eyes. The brighter it is, the more cooler or bluish the temperature of the screen will be. The screen on the right is better. I'm not going to show videos or all that stuff. There's tons of videos out there comparing the two screens. I've done that in past videos as well. But for this one, what I'm noticing though is that True Tone is much more aggressive on the 11 inch, and I'm going to demonstrate that. So I will take a flashlight and flash that over the sensors, and what you'll do is you'll see the 11 inch screen begin to get a cooler temperature and look more like the iPad on the right. Here, so you can see it now. The one on the left, the 11 inch is cooler, and all of a sudden the one on the right looks warmer. I haven't changed the right one at all. It's strictly because they're right next to each other. So, not bad. And then all of a sudden you'll see, go back, and it's a little warmer than the 12.9. Let me just do that one last time so you can see the difference here. They look very similar now. The 11 is getting cooler, and now it's the 12.9 that looks a little yellowish. So again, this is just a standard web page. It's not like I'm doing videos. You will definitely notice in videos and movies and things like that, much more dramatic, dark scenes and brighter scenes in videos as well. Okay, and now we're back, and the one on the right is just looking a little better. All right, so what I want to do now, though, is go in and let me turn off True Tone on the 11 inch. And we'll compare them. So True Tone is on the 12.9, but right away you can see the difference in the temperature. It's cooler. All right, let me change 12.9 now, and that's just a little more cooler. The screen on the 12.9 inch iPad Pro is a better screen. I can't argue that. But that difference is way more dramatic when they're next to each other. When I'm using the iPad Pro 11 inch on a day-to-day basis, the screen looks just fine for me. But I did want to have that comparison there so folks can see, particularly that True Tone is a little more aggressive on the 11 inch. If I could ask Apple for anything, just put an intensity slider on the iPad so we can control the intensity of the True Tone effect. That would really go a long way. And while I'm asking for changes to the iPad OS, can you make Apple Music or iTunes more flexible on the iPad? I would love to be able to have multiple libraries as well as import my own music right to the iPad and be able to put it in playlists or move it around. You can't do any of that right now. So I hope this was helpful with the comparison between the 2021 11 inch and the 12.9 inch versions. I do understand that some of the reasons I gave are a little more niche and are specific to me, but hopefully the screen comparison was helpful too. So if you are making a choice between either of these iPads, they're both great. The internals on them are exactly the same. It's only a difference of the screen. And whichever one you choose, I hope it's a good choice and I hope you're happy with it. Thanks for watching.